glad you're here to listen to wonderful program coming to you. And please don't forget to subscribe or give us thumbs up. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, welcome again to KKTV. The studio we have Dr. Limo. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much again.
Yeah, we are here to talk about Kenyan politics. Now that the IBC has been reconstituted, the commissioners were unanimously approved by Parliament, although there is still a court order that they cannot be gazetted. But we have a list already out, and that is the list. So we have Erastus Ndungu Atekon, who was an ex-Turkana County attorney. He's an attorney by profession. And under the two current register of political parties, Moses Mukwani, a lawyer, Mary Karen Sobit, advocate of the High Court, Hassan Noor was the chief whip, administrative secretary, sports ministry, Francis Odiambo Duol, ex-vice chancellor of the Technical University of Kenya, Fahim Abdallah served as a member of the Lamu County Assembly Service Board. And I think also we have to understand also that the chairman, Erastus, comes from Turkana County, and Anderitu comes from Nyandarua, Moses Mukwani comes from Kakamega, Hassan Noor comes from Mandera, Mary Sobit comes from Wasinigisu, that is President Ruto's home county. Odur comes from Kisumu, and Faima comes from Lamu. So, Dr. Onimu, what is your take about that list? What do you have to comment?
Yeah, thank you again. That's a very interesting list, especially when it comes to diversity and of nominations. But even before we go to that diversity of nominations, because if you look at that, they are all in the peripheries of what we may consider the mainstream we have seen for many years, which is good for minorities, because we see Erastus is from Turkana. And I actually read about his history. Growing up, he went to a primary school where they did not even have classrooms, and he endured the process of going to school without classrooms, what we call traditional classrooms, and he has really achieved a lot. We should really appreciate and celebrate individuals like him who have worked so hard to be where they are. He does merit to be where he is. And we know that the seat he's taking on is not an easy seat, regardless of who takes on that particular chairmanship. The Rusa will always be crying for, regardless. We have the history of that in the last several election cycles. So I really pity him in one way or the other, because we know the outcome. The outcome is the Rusa will cry for. We know that for sure. It's predictable. It's not something that you and I will, even the smallest person who has no knowledge of the electoral process can dispute. Yeah. What however is very unique is we don't have anybody from Central Kenya, right? Did I see that?
Nyandaro is Nyandaro.
Yeah, that's considered Central Kenya. There's only one from Nyandaro is an extension of it's actually considered Mount Kenya region, which is good. Here is my take, my channel take. My personal opinion is I'm looking forward to a time when Kenyans do not mind about who becomes the chairman or who becomes in the electoral process.
Yeah,
I'm looking for that time when people will walk down to the polling stations, cast their vote, and the vote is actually electronically counted without any intervention. A process where we will not have even what we call party overseers at the polling stations, We don't have those in the United States. You walk down the polling station, you find the cracks, you vote, and then you walk away. There's no party overseers. There's nothing there. You only vote and go.
Yeah.
And as you vote, your vote is actually counted. As you scan it through that box, that vote is actually already counted.
Yeah.
Except that the results are not even open until the end of the day. So I'm looking forward to that day when the person who is counting does not count. In this case, the person who is going to count counts, meaning that the chairman of the electoral commission really counts, and he might declare anybody a winner, like we have seen previously. That a chairman is a very critical piece. Chairman should not be the story. The story is about the electors who go to the votes and vote somebody in. That should be the story. Now, the big story is who is the chairman? Who is the commissioner? That should not be the story. We shouldn't be talking about who, honestly.
Well, that's a very important question you have raised, and I've been conducting an election in the US for some years now. You know, the burden here is heavily weight on your job as a person. You want to do it to perfection, because if something goes wrong, the road will be on you. That's why, I mean, it's so organized that it's human. I don't know whether we can reach there, but I thought even Kenya, when you see about the election, how they conduct the election, actually election is local. The election ends at the polling station. From right. I think from the Maraga recommendations, they implemented that. At the polling station, that's where everything ends. But I don't know the jargon which comes about this national tallying center and all of the mystery of manipulation, which I really don't understand.
Really, honestly, the national tallying center should not even be there. We should have this thing end at the local level.
Yeah.
Most likely, most probably at constituency level. So when they are declaring the winners of those electoral seats within the constituency level, they should declare who won the parliamentary seat at the constituency level, who won the gubernatorial seat, the MCA seat, and the presidential vote, so that vote that has been declared as a winner at that local level is relayed to whoever who is going to be the returning officer. And these are the returning officers. They should not be people counting. They should be the people just announcing who the winner is.
No.
I mean, it behooves me and the chairman who, and I really pity him, Mr. Erastus, who has worked so hard to be where he is. He's taking on a job. And I was listening keenly to how he was responding to questions. He appeared like somehow it wasn't very clear. He appears like he was pushed to apply for that position. He did not actually voluntarily do it.
Yeah, actually, let's listen to this clip. I think you must be right. Yeah.
That govern electoral offenses, and that these laws will be implemented, and those people who perpetuate electoral malpractices can be held to account. So for me, I will rely more on my faith and my trust in our constitution and our laws and our institutions that we have set, that we the people have given unto ourselves.
The lawyer by profession also denied any links to former
Now, on that, it was more talking of what the wish list, and I think that is what most people think when they go to a position, that he will follow the law. But will he really follow the law under the influence? Like now, as much as he was saying he was not, he admitted that he was encouraged by some young people to run, which is, of course, is human. You know, sometimes people are told, and he accepted. But then, what lingers is that he has association with the President Ruto. He served with Nanok, who is now a very close ally of Ruto, and they think that must have been a reason why he was chosen.
Yeah, again, I don't know who can fit the seat of a chairman of the IEPC without being linked to somehow one or the other of the contestants of the presidency.
Yeah.
I don't know who that would be, because anybody who is going to be the chairman must have his own personal opinions about who can be president or who they will have voted for president. Don't Does the chairman actually vote by law?
I don't know.
I think they have a right, like any Kenyan, to go to the electoral
they have a
polls.
right.
Yes. So in that case, then therefore there's no Kenyan who's going to be chosen as a chairman who will not be affiliated to another political party or in one way or the other.
Yeah.
The late Chebukati was one time a contestant of a parliamentary seat under ODM.
Yeah.
How then could we have characterized him at the time when he was nominated to be chairman? We would have said, hey, this person was actually an ODM member who even ran for office in an ODM ticket.
So that should not be the reason why we want
Correct.
This. And then all this, there is always, you know, I don't know whether we overanalyze people. And I saw in the Nation today, they have always analyzed. So Pete is associated with the UDA, is a UDA member. That is an issue. So they say Oduori must have been an influence of Raila to be on that position. And I don't know how they might have brought this other guy. I don't know. And the ritual, I don't know how he came about. But everybody, and Mukwana is associated with the Musalia Mudavadi, that it was a hand of Musalia Mudavadi there. What do you take of that? That the big wigs had some manipulation. They wanted their own interest there.
The person who became chairman was the least expected, because remember, even the national newspapers were saying this man Charles Nyachai.
Yeah.
That's what it was like obvious that he was going to be. So had he been selected, we would be talking exact same thing, that he's affiliated to UDA, close friend to William Ruto.
People
but at the same time,
even before he went for interview.
All right. Now he's not the person selected. Two, some people will have said, how can you have Charles Nyachai as a chairman, who is going to be the arbiter or the referee for a context most likely between a man from his own community, Dr. Matiang'i, versus William Ruto. that could have also been like could have been the same way. So in my opinion, we have seen. Let's use Chebukati. Chebukati was actually ODM member.
Yeah.
He ran for office under ODM. But see his outcome, how he managed the whole process. He was accused of being biased, not towards ODM, but to the other party.
Yeah.
So I want to, for lack of words, I think Charles Elastas is going to have it a little hard, because people are pointing fingers that you have been put there. He's going to prove them wrong otherwise. That he's going to be just.
I think the way he did answer the question during the interview, he looked like a person who knew what he was doing. He wants to do a good job. But how about if he's manipulated? Does he have value?
The values
matters, because the other people know that every man has a price, and then maybe they will come up and buy him. Somebody can be bought, and he will also end up being condemned. I'm sorry to say, I feel like Chebukati was condemned for reasons I didn't see. Oh, I think we are joined by Geoffrey.
Right. Yes. You. I think there's an echo since you joined. So I was going to mention that that seat, regardless of who sits on it, the chairman of IEBC, he's going to be condemned in one way or the other. Now that people are saying he's going to be biased for once, the sitting president, if the opponent of the sitting president wins overwhelmingly and Erastus declares him winner, the other function will actually say you are biased. There was a price on your head. You were bought, and therefore you are declaring a loser a winner.
Yeah.
So then what is the answer to this? The answer is we want to reach a time in Kenya where the electoral process is an electoral process of electing a person where the electors really count and not the person sitting as a chairman of IEBC. Because right now, people think that as a chairman, you actually determine who the winner is. So a time should be now where Kenyans elect and the person elected and who wins is declared the winner. And once that really comes into the sync of Kenyans, where Kenyans really believe and trust in the electoral process, that is the time we are looking forward to. That regardless of who sits there, there's enough trust that the person who actually wins is declared the winner.
Okay. Well, welcome, Geoffrey.
Thank you very much.
We are still discussing about the IBC commissioners, and I don't know whether you saw the list of the members. We're discussing what is your opinion? Are they suitable to produce a fair and credible election 2027?
Yeah, thank you for having me. So I think anytime we have election officials appointed to lead elections, as an electorate, we would like to think that that they are fair, they have been vetted, and they can serve fairly when we have these elections. But also, when you look at it from a tense political environment like Kenya, I will agree with Dr. Nyochae that depending on how elections go, people will take sides. People will assume that if they call the elections for the president, Dr. Samuel Ruto, that somehow he had a hand in picking who will declare him a winner. But then if it goes on the other side, then it becomes the opposite. But I think in all sense, I think the people who are vetted will serve fairly based on how they were vetted and based on how they were picked. But at this point, I will not say that it will be too early to judge until we go through the elections and then go back and review how the elections went. So that will be my take at this point. I think it's too early to determine how this will go. We're hoping that the committee was chosen fairly and that they will serve Kenyans in a way that is with integrity and good service for the country.
Yeah, one of the things I saw here, a majority of them are lawyers. Does it mean that IBC needs lawyers that much? Does it mean to be a lawyer you are able to provide good leadership? Or what is your take? Why do we have many lawyers?
I'll not say that being a lawyer directly says that you can be a good official. Well, I'll say that I think anybody who is elected or appointed to be an official has to have a good understanding of the electoral process, the electoral laws, and how things are run. I think once you have a sound grounding on how the process works, what the rules are or the laws are for that conduct the elections, then I think anybody should be a good candidate. Lawyers are assumed to, just because they practice law, that somehow they understand that piece of it. But again, as we all know, all of us can read the same script from a constitution, but totally interpret that differently. So that doesn't mean that being a lawyer gives you the benefit of being a good official. So I would say I would have liked to see more variety in terms of the choices. But in this respect, we have what we have at this point.
I completely agree. The fact that they selected more lawyers, the law doesn't require that you have to be a lawyer to be in that commission. Number two, we have seen, like my brother Chui has mentioned, that you can sit 4 lawyers in one room and give them one sentence, and they all interpret it and give different opinions on it. It doesn't, and some of them really well reasoned out, and some of them perhaps not so well reasoned out. So yes, I wonder why they selected lawyers as much. Diversity is good. And
yeah, but is it that the chairman has to be a lawyer? Because it looks like all of since the new constitution, it looks like the people who have read that I don't know. I've not read that part.
I think there's a clause which says that to be chairman, you have to just to be something. Not sure if they should be lawyers. Maybe they should be able to sit in the high court. They have the qualification of sitting in the high court, I believe. Therefore, meaning that they have to be somehow lawyers, but you don't have to be a lawyer to be sitting in the high court. That I know, unless they change the rules. Because Chunga, for example, who was at one time the Chief Justice, he never really was he was never a lawyer in practice, but he ended up, he was a prosecutor for years, and he was never really a sworn-in lawyer. It's something that we have to check and confirm from the statutes.
So what do you think generally with the 2027 election? Are we likely to have a free and fair election?
I think going from past elections, it's really hard to tell. But I think also, if you look at the current affairs of the country right now, in terms of the political climate, in terms of how things have turned up since the last election in 2022, I think it will be prudent that we have a fair election in that sense. I think the electorate is more informed now about the whole process that is upcoming. We have a young generation of new electorates, potentially new electorates who are coming in, and these folks are more informed than I would say the past generation. These are not people who are not educated. Most of them are very educated, but they have no jobs. So they have a very big vested interest to ensure that whoever takes over next in the coming election works for their interests in terms of improving their economic bottom line. So mine is that I think it's going to be an interesting election. More is at stake, but I would say that I think we have a more engaged electorate than we've ever had for a long time. So,
is it going to be a fair election? The answer is actually lie in the past elections, because it's easier to look at the history to predict the future. The Kenyans have always pointed to the year 2002 as the only credible election that we have had since multipartyism. When overwhelmingly the late President Iebc won at around 63% of the electoral votes. Subsequent elections have never really been declared as a fair and free, or free and fair, because the margin of winning of the winners has been very small. We've been having almost a 50-50 split, with the winning candidate winning only about 200,000 votes of all the votes cast. So is it going to be free and fair? The answer lies in that part, like I said, only if the electoral process also appears to be and should be perceived to be free and fair. The outcome is as good as the electoral process itself. And the electoral process begins not during the voting time, but during the vetting and selection of those who are going to conduct the elections. So the earlier question you asked about the people who are selected, these are unknowns. These people really are not household names in Kenya. Chebukati was never a household name in Kenya until he became chairman. Rastas, nobody knows him as much in the Republic of Kenya. Now we're going to see how we will conduct the elections. Should we have selected somebody like Maraga, maybe who has credibility? Absolutely. If Maraga was sitting there, I know for sure that he would not favor even his own mother. He will not favor his brother. He will declare the winner, regardless of who that winner is, or the loser, regardless of who that loser is. So for Erastus, I don't know. I would say until we see it, we can't tell.
So now to see where what we are seeing, the coming election looks like is building up like the 2007 election. The candidates are out. You can see the opposition is really out and is. I can see the video. Even people have started speaking. It looks like when an incumbent is under siege, election in Kenya sometimes become very tense. And in that process, that's where people can point fingers. But more especially if the opposition will unite. But as you have seen, will the opposition really unite and they field one candidate?
It's really hard to say. Based on last elections, it's really hard to say. There's so many, I would say, folks who feel like they should be leaders. They should be the next president, and it's going to be tough to see a scenario where the opposition is actually comes together and picks one person. Based on history, that would be a tough sell. But again, like I've said, that the current political climate in Kenya is a little bit interesting this time. So I think the stakes are very high. The current administration is not doing as well as they had campaigned for, and this clearly shows that campaigning and governing are two different things. When you're campaigning, you have a different message because you want to get elected, but once you're elected, when it comes to governance, it's a whole different story. And I think that's that dynamic. A lot of people don't understand that. So, but I think this time around, this kind of administration hasn't lived to its promises, and I think it's being felt across the country, especially in the economic terms. And because of that, I think a lot of people are feeling the need to have that change or improve that situation by using the next election. So I'll say the opposition has and should have consider having one person run for president, and because I think that's the only way that we can have a meaningful and clear results once it's all said and done.
Yeah, well said. What I would add is, again, look at the history. Since 2002, or since multipartyism during Moi's time, when we had strong candidates running against Moi. In the first multipartyism, post-Moi 1992, we had 4 strong candidates, 3 of them running against Moi. Moi won with only 33%. He was declared winner of president. The subsequent elections of 1997, he won with 37%. Still, as a minority, still won because there were still strong candidates running. 2002, the formations were two. So we started seeing a formation of two candidates realizing that unless they join forces, they cannot win. They won resoundingly by 63%.
Because they united.
Because they united.
Yeah.
2007, however, I want you to note this. There were three functions. The sitting president, the opposition, which was uniting behind Raila Odinga, and then there was a person who ran on his own ticket, Kalonzo Musyoka.
Oh, is it Kalonzo Musyoka? Oh, yeah.
Right? Kalonzo Musyoka ran. And he took a small chunk, and he was nominated to be vice president post-elections. Because remember the post-election violence that came. So you will say there was 2.5. There was a minority, and then you saw the incumbent winning, controversially though. Then thereafter, we have seen formations of two strong parties. Here's what I would suggest. It doesn't matter how many people run. It matters where the electorates go. You can be 30, but if the people who are going to vote really vote for two strong candidates, then we can say they are two strong candidates. So it's about how are these running? Because even 2002, there were other minority candidates who were scoring 2,000 votes overall. So again, the Kenyans, if they unite behind two individuals, regardless of how many are running, like in the US here, people never get to know that there are 19 candidates running for presidency. People get to know only two. So last election in Kenya, there were very many candidates, by the way, but only two were known.
Yeah, but given, now we are having here, there is an old model where tribal kingpins padlock their tribes and they tame their votes, and then they go bargain with their votes. And that is what which ended up in the KK government being called shares. And it looks like there is that formation that even if they are coming together, they want to sit and see what are you bringing to the table, what are you coming with, so that they can share things even before election. But will this group come together and accept that this is a person we want to front, or they will just use the numerical, what they call the tyrannical numbers, to say you come with a large chunk of votes, so you are going to be the leader of the opposition?
Yeah, I know my brother Chui has a very good answer because he really follows this very closely about at that level. But before he does give his answer, what I would say is for sure that Mount Kenya has a huge chunk of votes. And if that is the criteria of selecting a person to run for office, then obviously we'll be having Mount Kenya presidency forever. And we know that if they select one who is from Mount Kenya today, in the next elections, President William Ruto wins very early in the morning by 8 o'clock. Because they're coming with a tribal mindset, which is really which turns off so many millions of Kenyans away from going to the ballot, and therefore, and that's exactly what the present incumbent President William Ruto wants. He wants a person to run from Mount Kenya as a president. If he's not going to run on their own, he will pay and pirate somebody and campaign and provide campaign finance to have that somebody run, because he knows once they run behind somebody who is not from there, his is cooked very early in the morning. He'll lose very early in the morning if Mount Kenya rallies behind somebody who is not from Mount Kenya. Just like they rally behind him. That's how he won. He knows the threat that the Mount Kenya people have.
Okay. Julie, what do you have to say about that?
No, I mean, I'll agree. But I think the fact of the matter is that all habits die hard. And I think our election process is basically set up in a way that, all these community groupings, more so those who are many, like the Mount Kenya and also the Kalenjin community. They have the numbers, and as history can tell us, when one of them runs, they coalesce around that, and I think that's a big hindrance to our democratic political space. And I don't think this election will be 2027 will be any different. But well, all I know though is that the incumbent, current President Ruto, if he wants to win, his interest will be to divide the opposition, and that's why I'm saying I think it will be paramount that if anybody other than the current president wants to win the election, that the opposition has to coalesce around one person, and also be very careful as not to be bought out to help divide the opposition challenge, because I think that is already in gear as we speak. But I know that Kenyans who really care for the country and who have really suffered and want to make a change are going to think different this time around, and that's why I'm hoping and pushing that we should coalesce around that one person who really cares for Kenya in a way that helps every Kenyan that they want to lead.
Well, I want to ask the last question is, there is a general feeling in the ground that they don't want to go that route of just putting tribal kingpins, but they want somebody who can deliver. They want somebody who can change that country, who can correct the ills of that country for a long time. I don't know how long that momentum would be, and at that point, that's how we have a new person in the race who seems to cut across Kenya than any other person, who's Matiang'i. What are some of the challenges that he would have? Because it looks like they have that wherever you see, and you have seen even the clips when even people ask, they say, Matiang'i is the one who would fix this. But how long will that momentum be kept? And will they keep that promise to the end? Or are there people enough to propel him to the presidency?
I think Matiang'i faces the same old problem. Matiang'i was part of an administration that didn't do quite well. The current president and the former president Uhuru were part of that. And Matiang'i was the face of that administration. So a lot of people remember what Matiang'i did. So and if you know of history, politics is in terms of leadership, it's being played among the same people. So Matiang'i will be a likable candidate, based on its performance on that administration, even though there's people who don't like, how he did things when he was in that administration. But I'll argue that, he was working and doing as directed. If he couldn't do it, then he could have resigned at the time. So I will not blame him solely because he was taking direction based on who his boss was. But if you look at the work that he was given to do, he delivered. It was very clear. I think he was a fresh face in terms of what we call administration and leadership. And the areas where he was assigned, he delivered, and he did that very he did a good job. So this time around, if he's running and if he wants to run, which we think he is, he will be a very formidable candidate. But again, the opposition leaders have to coalesce around him. If they pick him up, I think he'll be a formidable candidate for come 2027. So I think personally, I would say that he's not a saint, but I think he'll be a fresh face to bring hope to the many Kenyans who see that this current administration has already failed based on what they had promised during the campaigns.
Okay.
Right. So the person in the name of Fred Matiang'i, he has never run for office, yet millions of Kenyans know him. He has never campaigned for anybody, yet millions of Kenyans know him. Why? Because of what my brother Joey mentioned. He was assigned a task. He accomplished the task. He accomplished in a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, and among his peers, he was ahead of among his peers. To say that he was given a task and he was given direction is another statement. All the CSs in that administration were also given similar, and they were empowered in the same way. The only difference between him and those, I don't even remember the rest who were in that administration at the moment, was because he was able to figure out and find solutions, because the president does not have solutions. When you're given a task, you become creative enough to find solutions, implement the solutions, and make people feel that you really have made that change. So if he was able to figure it out then, and from his experiences, I believe he's the best candidate to run for office at this time and point in history of the Kenyan economics, especially economic system and economic environment right now.
And now,
The one thing I ever caution him, which we just mentioned at the very top of the hour, is can he sustain the interest that he has created? If we are so far away from elections, can this be sustainable? The answer is up in the air. But is there another person who can come and steer the same interest like he has? The answer is in the air. Remember the audacity of hope in the year 2004 in Chicago, when the then young man by the name Barack Obama gave a speech. He was able to sustain that for a long time, for 4 years, and he ran for office. Thereafter, he won. So there's a possibility it can happen. It's only 2.5 years to the elections. It can happen.
Yeah, and actually, I was sharing with another expert, political expert, who said it will be true that his presence should not be felt that much out. If he wants to sustain that, he needs, sometimes you become too much frequency. Although in the same way, he also argued on this one, and I don't know if some of you remember he was talking about, Matiang'i might suffer from what they call it the Pareto principle. We might be promoting a very good manager to leadership. He says to him, he feels that Matiang'i is more of a manager, not a leader. And he needs some guardrails that he worked well because he had a boss. That given that he becomes on top of that he's the one having the power without the guardrails, he might go overboard. What's your comment on that? It was just a suggestion.
In my opinion, I think that's just distraction. Being a manager, you're already a leader, because you manage what you're given in the best way possible to get the results that you
want.
You need to get. So, in my opinion, Matiang'i already delivered. He was given a role to play. He managed and led that well. So that is very clear. So I think people will try to distract, especially the people allied to the current administration, so that to take away the momentum. So but just going back to I think you guys have talked about that earlier. 2027 is still way ahead. It's out there. In Kenya politics, takes a long time. So I think Matiang'i needs to find a way, or the team that is going to be part of his committee needs to find a way to keeping the momentum going. But I'll say people feel and want Matiang'i to run. They feel like he's the only person right now who can create that fresh change that we need. But the question again is will that momentum going all the way to 2027 be sustainable? For me, I think it will. But again, we're yet to see that at this moment. So,
okay. Dr. Ndim, you wanted to say something?
Your friend who told you that there are no guardrails. I say there are guardrails. Number one, we do have the Constitution, which is one of the guardrails. We have the judiciary, which we have seen it functions. We wish it could function even more. We have seen a person who wants to break the law and get away with it in the name of President Trump, and we have seen the guardrails coming from the judiciary. So yes, there are guardrails there.
Okay.
Institutional guardrails would be there and are there. So we know, yes, the answer is yes. Number two, we may need a strong parliamentary group who would be overseeing any administration. Right now, it's a pity that they are all in the same bed. So again, Kenyans should elect people who have integrity. So what we see today is a reflection of exactly who we are. So we can be pointing fingers at the leaders, yet we, the Kenyans, are the people who put them there. So that's an exact mirror of who we are. So if Kenyans really turn around and put somebody like Matiang'i in the presidency, then it means there is a new dawn in Kenya, because we haven't had somebody who speaks and does what he means. We saw how he performed, and we are looking forward to that presidency of a person who says and acts and acts really decisively, like he has.
And through his servant leadership, who wants to serve the people.
Yeah, and it was actually very, very much in defense of the Kenyan Mwananchi at the time when he was actually running those ministries.
Yeah, we hope we are going to see what happens. I think our time is gone here. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I know you have very busy schedule. In the, Ben was here, but he had an emergency, so we had to let him go before we started. I really appreciate your time. Until next time, thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you next time. Again, when